What is exposition?
It's the problem of the story.
What is the problem? Okay. What is the plot problem in Greece?
Is it a class problem? Is it a, what is the problem?
I think isn't there like a east side, west side kind of thing going on?
It's not West Side Story. Instead, here it's
Another good story.
I knew
another
there was
good
something
story.
else.
Another good story. But
I guess I got the wrong thing.
But, and hello, West Side Story. What Shakespeare does that come off of?
Oh,
Romeo.
Romeo and
Yes!
Juliet, right.
Don't you love this?
That's great.
All these things, you're going to start to see these patterns everywhere in literature. All right, exposition, though, is exposing the problem. What is the problem? In the case of Greece, it was
The inability to be yourself.
inability to, well, the broken heart. Right? She gets to school, and all of a sudden there's a problem, and now she starts her journey to find out how to fix her heart. In Pooh, there's this bear that needs to go back to the woods because he's got work to do. And so what do I do with this bear that's looking for a red balloon? Okay? Spider-Man, what is the problem in Spider-Man? Because Edmund thought that the uncle dies, that's the climax. So what's the problem?
The problem is there's an evil villain that needs.
No, it's even before that.
Well, for me, he went to find himself, discover himself. You know, because he lost his grandfather, lost the girl that he liked.
Ah, but that's a good way through the story.
Yeah.
That's a good way through the
You
story.
say it's like when just him struggling as like a nerdy teenager.
Yeah, so it means
High school is like his problem, kind of.
he loses his
But
job.
here's the thing, at the end of the story, did he solve the problem of high school? The exposition
Identity.
is what is the problem.
Identity, maybe he has an identity.
Interesting. That's an idea.
Like she said, he's trying to find himself, and it was definitely he seemed to be failing at a lot of things.
Okay.
I think also
He got fired.
want to be useful.
about the
Meaningful.
death of his parents. I think that's in the beginning because they have to disappear and they die, and
Yeah,
he's
there's so
always
many
trying to
generations.
find out more about that, why they were looking for him.
Okay.
It's part of the story. And I remember when he first started having the powers, he comes across information and he looks up his father's, there was like a suitcase or something, that he gets some information. So he wants to find answers for that puzzle of his father's death.
Mm-hmm.
It depends which one that you, because it's like 4 of them.
Yes, but all four of them have the same exposition. That's what makes it truly a Spider-Man story. Just like Batman has the same exposition, right?
I guess it starts with a crime that he couldn't avoid.
Couldn't stop.
His uncle was died, something like that.
But even before that,
Doesn't it start with the girl?
Or-
it starts with him not being able to overcome himself, right? He's a mess at school. He's a mess at a local job. Depends on which move you're talking about there. He's a mess at whatever he tries to do. And the uncle sitting there telling him, you have such great potential, but because of that, because you're such a smart kid, you're such a great kid, that comes great responsibility. And he can't handle the responsibility of day to day. And so all of a sudden he's going to be thrust into much greater responsibility.
Good.
All right? And so because of that, these are the things you're looking for. What is the problem? If you're talking Batman, it's the death of his parents. All right? If you're talking Gone with the Wind, all right? The Margaret Mitchell classic Gone with the Wind, you're talking, what is the problem there?
Scarlett's completely self-absorbed and spoiled.
She's a spoiled brat.
She's a spoiled brat.
And it's not until the last page that she starts to get the idea, on the very last page, that, I'm going to throw out all of what I thought was there, and I'm ready for a real relationship. And at that point, it's too late. And there he
They're all
goes.
gone.
All right? And literally everything's gone at that point. I mean, they've gone through war, they've gone through everything, hunger, and sometimes you'll have the plot can be completely fulfilled, and sometimes it will all fall. All right. I want to go over one. So we talked about there's exposition, then the rising action. The rising action, I just wanted to review this, is the majority of the book. So when you get your worksheet today, you're going to spend the majority of the time, you might even write on the back, rising action. And what were some of the obstacles? This is where the character hits obstacle 1, and it's pretty easy to sort of jump right over. And then the next obstacle is going to be a greater obstacle. And then they sort of have to struggle through that one. But the final obstacle is usually the one that almost breaks them. That's the one that's like, that's the life or death. That's going to destroy their future. That's something they can't almost handle. That is the part that is the moment of crisis. When you get to this final obstacle, you have reached the climax. This is the part where you're on the edge of your chair and you can't hardly wait to find out what happens next. And when all of a sudden something happens, you're like, no, go away. I have to finish a section. That's the climax. You've hit the most exciting part. Because does the character survive? Does he win? What happens next? The last one was what? I'm not the last one. The next last one is denouement, which means following action. And the last is the conclusion. Now, what's interesting is during this time, there's two ways a book can completely fail. Completely fail. And this is a question I'm going to ask you. The book that you read for your project, did your book succeed or did it fail? There's two ways a book can fail. Number one, here's the exposition. If at the end of the whole story, doesn't matter if it's one book, 3 books as a trilogy, or an entire set, if the exposition is not completely resolved in the conclusion, the book has failed. And all of a sudden, you start to wonder why you picked up this book, or where are the matches and I can burn it. All right? The second way it can fail is that the plot motifs can fail. All right? Remember when we talked about plot motifs? I want to remind you about those before we get that nice little sheet. All right? For example, do you remember one of the samples we gave on exposition and conclusion? What is the story that seems like a stinky story because the beginning did not match the end? Can you think of one? Or one that did match the end? Anyone? Let's go.
Did we talk about Titanic?
We did talk about Titanic in class. We talked about Titanic. They were looking for the locket. She threw the locket in the ocean.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay? We talked also about, and actually I don't know if it was this class or another one, we talked about Star Wars. One of the ones called the Rogue One.
Yes.
Yes. Where everybody dies.
Yes.
There's like nobody alive at the end of the story. You spent 2.5 hours totally invested in these people and they die and you still walk out rather happy. Because the one thing survived that was the exposition was seen in the conclusion. Remember what it was?
Hope.
Hope. We did was in this class.
Yes.
So hope was the one thing that survived even though everything else died. So as long as the conclusion matches the exposition, that's a success story. Okay. Also, if we have a number of plot motifs, remember we said that the different devices are the motifs that you can use, and some of those are the relationships, the romance, the brotherly love, all of these. If you have them and they do well, you can actually see them come to conclusion, then all of a sudden your story is a success. If they fall, then the story is a flop. All right? Did we discuss? We did not discuss that Lord of the Rings, and we'll go ahead and discuss that one just a little bit. Did we discuss Hunger Games? We did. All right, and then we discussed Star Wars. On the plot devices of Star Wars? We're going to go ahead and do that one then. Okay? So let's make sure that you have all